Thank you. In regards to red flag laws, they just won't stop someone when they want to murder someone. And that's just the reality and the great concern. But what they will do is they'll violate people's due process rights. And I think that we all need to recognize the giant political divide in our country. I think we need to recognize that over the past several years, Americans are looking at one another, and they simply may not like someone's political views. They may not like their Trump flag in their yard. They may not like someone else's statements. And this brings this big slippery slope for false accusations to where they could, claim that someone is at a risk of killing others with their guns simply because they hold such political views or may have voted for a candidate for office. And I think this is putting Americans in danger, especially, gun owners, of losing their gun rights because someone is trying to take their guns away simply because they don't like them and may think a gun owner is dangerous when a gun owner is not dangerous. Taking away Americans' gun rights is dangerous. And I'd also like to discuss the fact that I think we're looking at this through the wrong lens. We all share something that's so important, and I'm really happy to hear you say the things you say. None of us want to see children killed in school. None of us want to see any group of people attacked in a way where they are at risk of losing their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's why I think abortion is wrong. Takes away Americans' ability to ever have life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness. But I think we also need to recognize that the gun being on trial is the wrong direction to go. We have a broken spirit problem in America. We have a broken human problem in America. And there's nothing that we're legislating here. There's nothing in this bill, and none, like everyone said, we didn't have anything to do with it. The Senate did, and they did it behind closed doors, and the process is all wrong. And thank you, Mr. Cole, for recognizing that. But this isn't solving anything, and I wish it was. Actually, it's causing Americans to distrust Congress even more than they already distrust us. They don't trust Congress because Congress just steadily violates people's rights. And I think that's a shame. So I really ask that you consider my amendment. It's very, very simple. It just states that insert at the appropriate place in the bill in the following: nothing in this act or an amendment made by this act may be construed to deny or infringe upon the due process rights of a person subject to the provisions of this act. It's so simple. And it's so simple that I think that we can all come together on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Mr. Raskin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But one of the things that we heard from the gentlelady from Georgia was that the proper response to children being massacred in school would be more armed guards, and that the way to protect people is to have more armed guards. And several things came to mind. One was that in Buffalo, the shooter, Peyton Gendron, I think his name was confronted by an armed guard who shot him, but he was wearing body armor, and then was able to kill the guard and go on to massacre people in the grocery store. Ms. Greene, do you think the Second Amendment protects body armor too, by the way?
Well, Mr. Raskin, here's what I do believe is I wish that people inside that grocery store had been armed, but the strict gun control where they live took that ability away from them.
I'll reclaim my time. So, Mr. Scott, your state has seen some terrible massacres, like at Virginia Tech. We saw the massacre at Uvalde, where there were lots of police officers around with guns, but they weren't able to stop the madman who got inside with an AR-15, the 18-year-old who got inside with an AR-15 and assassinated those children, such that their parents had to offer DNA to make a positive identification. Couldn't even identify them visually. What do you think about this argument that, well, what we need to do, what I understand her to be saying, is that basically everybody should be armed? Is that going to make us safer if we become the only country in the world where our solution to the problem of massacres in public places is to arm everybody?
The evidence I've seen is if you have armed guards in schools, you have no reduction in killings. You do have an increase in school-to-prison pipeline because the police officers there tend to police the children, not protect the children. And so that makes the situation actually worse. I've seen no evidence that school resource officers improve anything as police officers. If you have an additional counselor in the school, psychologist, things like that, that has been shown to reduce the incidence of violence in the school. And so to the extent that the school resource officers providing the counseling and the psychological services, that's a good thing, but unfortunately they tend to do more of the policing and not more of the counseling. But in terms of a protective, most of the school shootings have occurred at schools that